So good afternoon all. Thank you for joining this 1-hour webinar in which we're going to give you a brief update on the DIRTT project. I'm really happy to see so many people joining us. We will give the opportunity to ask questions during but also at the end of this the webinar. So you can save your questions either to the end or already put them in the chat where my colleague Lauren is take a look at them. For today's agenda, we're going to roughly go through these points today. For people that are not really familiar with the DIRTT project, we're going to tell a little bit about the background, aims and objectives. I've seen a lot of familiar people as well joining today's session, so they should be aware what the project is about. Then I'll take you to the kind of whole process of this project and where we stand right now, including some of the results, the deliverables so far. And then we take a look at the planning from now till the end of the year. The DIRTT project officially ends by the 31st of December 2022. And the last part is also a bit more interactive. Then we're going to present a little bit what the future perspective could be and how we think other people and stakeholders could get involved more. And then we're going to open for a Q&A until we are at around 4:30. The session will be recorded and we're going to send you the presentation afterwards as well. So you don't have to miss any kind of information. Let's see. So what is the DIRTT project? It's a project that has been co-funded by Erasmus+. It's a program, it's a knowledge partnership, and it's about international cooperation in vocational education and training, VET. We started the project in 2019 with 8 official project partners, 2 from Norway, 1 from Denmark, the Netherlands, Switzerland, Portugal, and Scotland. And the whole idea behind the project was that we thought and we've seen that there was a lack of specific training in the field of trail building, trail development, trail maintenance, which we wanted to address in this project. I'm going to admit a couple of latecomers. We've also seen that there still was some kind of knowledge that we should develop. There have been some skill gaps in the sector of competence that need to be addressed, and we need to make some specific training for. We also want to create this kind of network that would be better able to disseminate good practices and knowledge at the European level. Because we think the partnership and the collaboration across Europe is super important on as it comes to trail development and mountain biking. So that's a bit of the background of the project, how it all started. The lead applicant for this project is a technical high school in Norway called the Viken Fagskolen. We as MBA Europe are one of the eight partners, and one of our roles is also, besides contributing our knowledge and competence to the project, also to work on the dissemination. That said, one of the first steps in the project was to do a more thorough examination in the sector amongst the trail building companies, amongst land managers that are involved or managing mountain bike trails, to know what was going on there. To get even more and deeper information about what we needed to work on, and the outcomes were quite interesting. There's a full report. I'll mention that later on. But what was quite clear is that there's a need for the project. There's almost everybody that responded on that survey said that the mountain bike trail sector, trail development sector, would benefit from guidelines in relation to the trail design, the construction and the maintenance. That there still insufficient common understanding of the process of mountain bike trail construction and maintenance across Europe, that there should be more training available. A lot of people are doing in-house training because there's no real offer. And that it's also quite hard to recruit employees with the right skills and competence, especially for the professional trail building companies. So that in a certain way justifies also for ourselves that this is a project where there's actually a need for. This whole survey, the start of the project had two surveys. So one aimed at the trail sector, the trail building sector, another one which was aimed at the end consumer, the rider, because we thought that needs to be in balance, what the rider wants and what we are, and the kind of trails that we are developing. Let's move on to our next point. So to give you a little bit an idea of the whole process that we've been going through, as in many European projects, it has been divided in different work packages, where each of the partners is responsible to lead one of the work packages, although all the partners work together, but there's just one organization responsible to deliver the results per package. The main one, the first one that we actually started with after the consortium was established, is the needs analysis. And that have been the two surveys that have been conducted at the start of the project. So that's our kind of foundation for all the other actions later on. There's a pretty comprehensive report available about what specific needs, training needs there are, almost topic related, what's still missing, and in which kind of areas we are pretty good already. But it showed us that there are specific topics and areas where we need to work on and that need to be addressed later on in the project. What we also did in that same stage was what I've said, to do a survey amongst mountain bikers themselves. We want to prevent that there was a mismatch in between what we were teaching people and what the client eventually wants to see and wants to ride. So that was also the reason why we asked about the kind of experiences mountain bikers would like to see. The third work package was all about creating a syllabus. There is a syllabus ready, which covers a study program of 30 ECTS at a level 5 European qualification framework, which is a sort of blueprint for anybody that's interested in this kind of professional education. It's one of the ways this project is going to be delivered, because every project partner is free to choose how they want to deliver courses or training in their own country. It's sometimes really specific to the educational system in that country. So there's no one size fits all solution for that. In the fourth work package, we've worked on what we call the educational framework and all the elements. We're going to show them later on more specifically. Then we had a training event for trainers. So one key component of this project is that we are aiming at people that are actually capable of delivering training. And that's why we had a train-the-trainer event and a train-the-trainer program within this project. We just had a practical sessions in Portugal. And the next phase, and that's also something we're going to discuss a little bit more in the planning for this year, is that we need to conduct some pilot training. So we had a lot of trail builders, some with not that much teaching background. We've tried to make them better teachers, and now we need to test their newly gained skills in practice. Then if we've done those kind of pilot trainings later on this year, we need to do an evaluation and make the final adjustments to that educational framework before we really start with the dissemination and delivery of the framework and training courses. Then another important element of this project is that we need to continue all the work that we've done in this project on the longer term. So we need to create this European work group, which is more than just the project partners. to make sure that this continuous development keeps going on. And the other one, the last kind of block in this scheme, is about a DIRTT, what we call DIRTT 2.0. There's way more work identified within this project that we could actually cover with the resources that we have. So there's definitely a need for another project, and even to deepen the kind of work that we've done in DIRTT 1.0. That said, brings us to a little bit of the work that we've done already. So as said, the outcome of that first work package was a pretty comprehensive report on what the industry needs, what kind of training needs there are, what kind of competences are missing, plus the perception of mountain biking and what kind of trail experience they like and want to see, and the progression they would like to see. Another one, and that's a sort of extra thing that we've done within the project, which was not a necessity, but we were particularly interested in how mountain bikers perceive sustainability. So part of one of those surveys, we did an extra analysis, or actually Edinburgh Napier University did an extra analysis and published this academic report, which has recently been published. I think that's a really valuable contribution extra to this this project. The link to that publication will be shared with all of you as well. To get back to that third work package and what has been delivered so far in the, by now, there's a syllabus covering for a study program covering 30 ECTS at the level 5 European qualification framework, which tells you everything about the learning outcomes, the structure of the program, and how this whole professional training could look like when it's provided by an official educational institute, in this case, a technical high school in Norway. Right now, the syllabus is online. The link to the syllabus will be shared, and this will be the first kind of professional education provided in the field of trail building and maintenance management, starting end of August this year. It's going to be an international study, so you don't have to live in Norway to be able to enter it. It's going to be partly distance learning, partly practical learning, with sessions both in Norway and Portugal. Another thing that I will tell a little bit more about in the next slides is okay, how does this educational framework looks like, and what is the toolbox that we've been talking about during this project. And then the work package 5, briefly mentioned just before, is that trainer program. Within this project, each project partner had the opportunity to select 3 candidates to become part of this trainer program. So we were quite limited in how many people we could provide with this program. We ended up with about 24 people from different European countries, of which we thought they had enough trail building experience and some teaching background to enroll this program. They've been following a couple of online sessions, plus a week in Portugal, where they also had the chance to put their skills in practice. The whole trainer program was not as much about learning how to build trails, it's more to become a better teacher and learn to work with a lesson plan, to give better feedback, to create the kind of learning circumstances and a safe learning environment for your future students or clients. So that's what happened in January in Portugal. And let's see. Which brings me to the educational framework itself. So this has been, there's been a lot of discussion about what it actually is and how it would look like. At the start of the project, we've identified that there were different kind of phases, processes in the whole trail development sector, ranging from the planning, the spatial planning of trails, the design, micro design, management, towards trail construction and maintenance. But we also said, well, for someone who's new to this whole sector, they also need a little bit to know about mountain biking in society, or like an introduction to mountain bike trail building. So the three main building blocks that we identified that should together form this kind of educational framework are the three that you can see here on this slide. So these are our building blocks. These building blocks have also been adopted in that that training program that will start later this year in Norway, where we said, okay, if we have to divide the time and resources that we have for a training program, right now it should look like this. So there's a little bit on the introduction to mountain bike trail building. It's 2.5 ECTS. Then you need to know something about planning, design, and management. You're not going to be a professional planner or whatsoever, but you need to understand those kind of processes. But the main focus and the emphasis is on trail construction and maintenance. And the reason for that is also that what we found out during that study is that most of the people in the sector are working on maintenance or construction, and that the biggest need for training was also on this level, which doesn't mean that we don't think the whole planning, design, and management is not important. It definitely is, but we also needed to make a kind of decision what to focus on during the project span of this of the DIRTT project, and we realized we couldn't cover it all at once. Plus, the idea was this is a level 5 education, at least in Norway. A spatial planner designer is probably on a higher level. So that could be something for the future to focus on CPG modules for planning, design, and management, for instance. The different kind of elements you see here is the kind of building blocks within those blocks. So if we talk about planning and design, you need to know a little bit about rider experience, about facility managers and management, the actual planning, the actual design, also to make a presentation of design so the construction manager can actually read and understand what you've been doing. And there's definitely a sort of general kind of project management involved. But the main things that we've been working on so far is the third layer, the third block, is the trail construction and maintenance. Really practical, on the ground kind of work. There again, we make this kind of order. So we call them trail elements, the build levels. We've identified 4 different build levels, which also relate a little bit to the volunteer versus professional level that we've seen a lot. Like mountain biking is, yeah, I would say almost famous about the number of local volunteers we nowadays have, and which is a good thing to have. But there's also a kind of line between, okay, what can you do and what can you expect as a volunteer, and when do we think it should be a professional job? So we've identified build levels ranging from hand build to machine build to the more engineered kind of trail building, the larger projects, for instance, like bike parks in the Alps. There's definitely things about tools and tool safety and what is sustainable when we think about laying out trails, maintaining trails, and safety and risk management. What's also important to mention here is that a lot of these things are principles, because there's always a need to adjust these principles to your local setting or the national context, which could be really different per country. There could be, like in the UK, there are pretty strict safety and risk management rules and guidelines, especially compared, for instance, to Denmark, which is one of the other project countries involved in DIRTT, where this is not such a big thing. Legislation is also another thing that differs quite a lot per country. So we said, okay, we're gonna give or identify the main principles, and it could be that you need to tailor them to the needs of your country or your specific context. Looking a little bit further, so we have this building block of trail construction and maintenance. One of the ideas of that toolbox is that we could have the kind of support for trainers, which help them to develop training or training courses. We have a few things developed. It's not finished yet. Some is still like in drafts, but they should be finished by the end of the year. So we made some trail case studies where we've been collecting a lot of details about trail building projects, what went wrong, what kind of lessons were there to be learned, what kind of material have you used, a lot of those things where we can use as teaching materials. We made trail element templates, which helps us. It's a sort of decomposition of a trail building technique. So that helps a trainer to teach a certain technique to his students. There's going to be this image bank, so people can select the kind of images that they, per a specific trail element or technique, which they can include in their training material. And we're also going to look at rider dynamics, like where can we link the riding behavior with the trail building technique and design. We won't make it more technical than this today. Let's see, just one small example. Like within the trail elements, we had identified like 15 subtopics, which we've been describing and made some training materials for. So that's water management, berms, trail surface, or you can read them for yourself. And each of these templates have a sort of same setup. So what's the definition? What's the purpose of the element? What are the typical characteristics and the key aspects? Here are some building techniques and tips. Here is some accompanying media and some other references and further reading. Because we basically have done a huge desk research to gain as much information as we could get by this point. And what we're going to do in the next few months is also creating new materials, and especially on the media side, more better pictures, illustrations, which the things that we actually couldn't find so far, and that will be part of the whole training toolbox. We had a bit of a delay in this whole project for a very common reason in projects nowadays called COVID, which hindered us in a certain way. We haven't been able to meet a lot. For instance, between the kickoff meeting and the second meeting that we actually met in person I think it was about 2 years in between those two meetings. So everything we had to do everything online, which is not the most efficient way of running a project. So, but since October last year, the project accelerated, fortunately, again, with the opportunity to meet each other physically. So but it also means we have some catching up to do this year. So the planning for this year is that we're going to take a look at the different pilot training. So the pilot training needs to be conducted between roughly March and mid-May. And then those pilot courses need to be evaluated as well, both by people that are participating in those trainings, and there's going to be a self-assessment as well. Meanwhile, this toolbox, this online platform, needs more development. That's something we're currently working on to make sure that we have more training resources in place for the people that actually need to use them. Then we're going to have a summit in Val di Sole in June, where we definitely come up with a new update, and probably going to organize some practical sessions linked to the DIRTT project as well. And then for one of the project partners, it's going to be a really special moment, end of August, when they're when they're going to launch their international study program. The title is Mountain Bike Trail Planning, Construction and Maintenance. It will be provided by the Fachschool in Viken. The location is Jailo in the Hallingdal region. And since the school has is part of the VET Mobility Charter of the European Union, there's an opportunity to create an exchange program with our Portuguese project partner in Águeda, which is a perfect training ground all year long. And that solves one of our problems that, especially in Norway and probably also in the Alpine countries, the building season is really, really short due to the winter. This gives us the opportunity to expand in time where we can actually do practical teaching and training. And currently the municipality of Águeda and the project consortium is working on this agreement to make this one of the first European training centers that we can utilize for these types of training. At the end of this year, we're going to have a dissemination event. It's going to be the wrap up of everything that we've learned and done and delivered during the project. And then by the end of the year, we also need to have this European work group in place, plus a business model to make sure that we can keep on with the whole development of all these kind of things and do a revision of the educational framework. So that's something to take a close look at this year as well. And then DIRTT 2.0 is also something that we already have been thinking about. And the first idea is that after creating an educational framework, another step could be European certification framework. So the first preparations for a new application are already taken. And the idea is to apply for a new project already this year, so that hopefully after we finish this project, we can almost immediately continue with another project. So where do we stand in future perspective and stakeholder involvement? I'm also going to take a quick look at the chat, which I haven't done so far.
Is there a possibility to do pilot training?
Okay, yeah. My colleague is just saying that one of the main questions is whether there's an opportunity to join the pilot training. Yes, there should be. What we're going to do with all the people that have been part of the trainer program in Portugal is they get the concept, they get the template, what this kind of pilot training, what kind of criteria they need to meet, and they already start thinking about, okay, what would be a good opportunity and where can I conduct some training. I think within a couple of weeks, we probably have a better overview where and when this kind of training will take place. It's quite in most cases, it will be done in the project countries. So that's going to be either Norway, Denmark, Switzerland. What am I missing? Scotland. Yeah, Scotland already has a program in place. I think they're going to do a little bit more than just a training. It's a full training course, which they've been promoting already on their website. Inby Europe is working with a bit more international audience or group of trainers. So I know there's going to be training in Sweden and Italy. And we might even have an opportunity to do a bit of a test training or pilot training just before the Inby Europe Summit in Italy in Val di Sole. It's not 100% decided yet, but we are thinking and looking into the opportunities to create that offer over there. Let's see. So we can definitely give an update on that. It's good to know that if you are part of those trainings, then you are a student. You're not teaching yourself, you are following a training. Part of the criteria of those pilot training is that all the people that participated will fill in a feedback form, which is helpful for the trainers, which is helpful for the project consortium to improve the things that we've developed so far. Let's see. So, yeah. But this is just a project, and that brings me a bit to the future perspective. I think one of the things that we've learned during this project is there's much more ground to cover than we can do in one project, and that we also have seen the value of working more closely together with European partners and different kind of partners in a project like this, and that in a certain way we need to facilitate this kind of network for future programs, future projects. So a really kind of loose structure so far that we've been thinking about, like we can expand on a sort of European working group like this. If you consider the current project consortium as a working group, well, they've been responsible for project A, which was DIRTT, the educational framework. But a lot of these projects, they have a clear start and a finish line in a certain way. But this project almost needs to make that transition into a program, because we're not there yet. What we've seen is that we've been focusing on the construction part, but there's definitely an ambition also to have more training opportunities, for instance, on planning and design. I think there's also a need to build capacity in the future to do more train-the-trainer courses, so that there's an opportunity to follow training in your own country if there's no training provider yet. Another good thing for the future and for the sustainability and the quality improvement is that we revise the educational framework, and that we get enough experts in the same room to take a close and critical look at what we've developed so far. Are there any kind of new insights? What do we need to improve? So it's super important that all these groups and these stakeholders somehow stick together and get involved in new projects or programs. And what those projects could be, like we've identified two right now, but it could definitely be a project C and a project D in the future. One of the things that we've been within the consortium and also in the first application that we wrote agreed on is, like, as a European umbrella, and that it would make sense that the secretariat of a sort of European working group would be done by INBA Europe. But at least there are a lot of opportunities then for other kind of organizations as well to feed in this working group and you know, becoming part of projects or programs. Let's see. Which also brings me a little bit to, okay, what kind of future do we foresee? What kind of stakeholders? How can people get involved? Who can get involved? That there must be something like an ecosystem, and which organizations, which roles will fit that ecosystem. And we can also, would be really interesting to know about, okay, where do you see yourself? Where do you fit? What's your role? Are you the trail builder? Are you the educational institute that would be interested in the future to provide training? Are you a land manager or a landowner that would like to work with more qualified professionals or volunteers? Are you an expert in a certain domain? Are you a potential training center? Or are you a trail building company that would provide internships for people that are becoming part of official training programs? So there's a lot of things that we can come up with, and it's also a little bit our question to you, to this audience today. Okay, what are your ideas? How would you like to, if you're interested, to engage with a kind of project group network like this? Meanwhile, I'll also take a quick look at some of the questions in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, thank you, Lauren. You can unmute yourself as well and ask some questions. Maybe it would be good to just, yeah.
Hello, everybody. This is Olivier Becot from Belgium, from MBF Belgium. I try to start my camera. Okay. First, thanks a lot for your work. It's amazing, those resources that exist or that's on the way to exist. So congratulations for that huge work. It seems really structured and strong. I'm a little bit disappointed by the fact that Belgium is not taken part into this project. Even if we are a small country, we have a good dynamic in Belgium. We are building our first we are building our first trade center in Wallonia. So that's really new for us. We learn a lot, and we would be really interested by professional courses about trade building. I think also one important point is about the management of volunteers. I haven't seen it in the slide. Maybe it's under a specific topic, but that's a huge point, because without volunteers, it's not possible to build sustainable trails. And beside of that, I would be really interested to create a training center also in Belgium or even in France, even if there is a lot of resource available in English. Sometimes it's better to translate it in own language of the people, and to include, as you said before, the local specification about regulation laws and so on. So I would be really interested if it's still possible to join the pilot project. I don't know if it's online or if there is a part also on the field. So maybe we can chat about that later.
Quick response on that. I can see that you in a certain way are disappointed that you're not directly part of the project, but I think you shouldn't be too much worried. Within this kind of Erasmus programs, there's always kind of a limited number of countries. But on the other hand, the good thing about the Erasmus project is that most of the kind of resources or deliverables are open source in the end. So some of the things are still behind a login right now because it's not the finished version yet. But at the end of the project, a lot of those kind of resources that we've mentioned in an online library should be open to the general audience, which there will be, and I'm quite sure that one of the supporting needs will be this train the trainer role, to be a really good teacher, and that there's a big need that more organizations are feeding into the system to make sure this will be in a continuous kind of development. If there are kind of new insights, then we need to update whatever we've been writing down in our training resources. I think one of the things that would help you to bridge the language barrier is that probably by the use of images and illustrations, it would be easier to use them in any kind of training that you're providing yourself. And in terms of the professional courses, the one in Norway is the first one that already starts this year. It's mainly distance learning. You need to have some prior experience because that's a kind of criteria in the Norwegian educational system. So they take a look at your kind of previous acquired competences, or whether you already have a craftsman degree in something that's related to mountain bike trail building. But this is also just a start, I would say. It's not said that in a few years there are more institutions providing a full course in trail building. It also depends a little bit on how this whole market develops. But I think one of the directions to go is to further professionalize. And that doesn't always mean that it's only paid professionals. We definitely recognize the value of volunteers as well. Volunteer management should be definitely something that we cover within this project as well. But it's yeah, what I've said, it's a balance. You know, it's some tasks could be done by trained volunteers. Some tasks I think we should question ourselves if everything should be done on a volunteer level or also more on a professional level. And for some cases, and especially on the planning, and when we have to deal with all the environmental aspects, it's definitely not a simple thing. You know, you need a proper education for a lot of those kind of elements that are part of the whole trail development process.
Got 2 questions in the chat, Mark.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What about adding the bikes themselves to the stakeholder list and continue to actively include them in the long-term program? Yeah, that's a good point. I think we made a start with that already during the first part of the process. We knew that what we've seen happening sometimes is a builder that builds for his own preference. It builds the kind of trails that he likes. What we want to prevent is to miss out on the rider perspective, and that's also why we asked the riders about their opinion. But that's definitely something we could repeat more often. So you can find in that first report, which is also on our website, the first part of that survey is about the needs in the sector, and the second one is about the user and what they need and what they would like to see. So yeah, we definitely including them. So that was the question from Misha. Are those pilot trainings aimed towards trainers or trail builders? Also, same question about the course in Norway. Is it a trainer or a trail builder qualification? The course in Norway is a trail builder. The pilot trainings are also the kind of test cases for our new trainer, for the new trainers. So they are teaching trail building techniques. Could be for volunteers or maybe even for a professional audience, depends on the trainer. But one of the aims of those pilot training is also to evaluate the trainer. And that's why there's going to be a feedback round and a survey going to the participants of those pilot trainings. So it's both. So we're going to see the trainer in action for the first time to another audience. And we want to have the feedback of the people that are actually following that training about how the trainer did, and if the learning goals that he's been written down for his group, if he also aimed to meet those learning goals, if you are satisfied with the outcome. Kathy, I've got some info regarding MBF, if you can open my mic.
And then also are those pilot trainings aimed towards trainers?
Yeah, cover that one. Kathy, let's see if I can open your mic. Kathy, I think you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, you can.
So go ahead.
Will there be an opportunity to join trainers?
Will there be any opportunities to join a trainer course soon? I don't foresee that for this year, but probably next year. I think that's more realistic. Main reason for that as well, we still want to do a proper evaluation of what we've done so far. and update it. And then we are already pretty far in the season. So I think the most likely option is that early 2023, there might be, and it's not a 100% guarantee, but if I would take a look at a realistic kind of planning, then it would be early 2023. Kathy, please go ahead if you can. Yeah. You can ask your question or whatever you want to contribute. Okay. Kathy, can you hear us? You had a question. You can open your mic to speak up, but it's not working. Okay. Other questions?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm here from Croatia. So my question is towards trail building education. Recently, especially in COVID times, this trail building movement of volunteers is now, it's just crazy how many people are now interested in trail building, and we have now too much trails. I can not even give the number, and that's in a way it is worrying me, because it's not really regulated, and it's now not even built with some licenses. So could we have some training sessions in countries like Croatia? I know it is quite small market, not very famous in mountain biking, but I would love to organize something like that here. People just to understand that if you build a trail and then there is another one next to that trail, and so on and so on, what are the implications on the ecosystem? And at some point land managers could be really angry with this. Basically now they're just turning their head away and nothing is happening. But at one point, I think if location is overbuilt, we might end up in the problems. And if you have educated trail builders and people who are building really fantastic trails, but I would say this education could help us to prevent some damage potentially what might happen in the future. So that would be my question. If you have such plans to visit countries where we can have a critical mass of audience and people who would like to learn more and to get some, I would say, informal education on the topic.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, well, this webinar is basically about the DIRTT project. So it's not a bit about promoting what we're doing ourselves, but what we've done in the past and also still doing is this smaller courses, trail building schools in different European countries, where we have a few trainers that can provide that training. Those trainers are also part of the DIRTT project right now, and we are adjusting our own programs to the new kind of DIRTT curriculum and the training resources. I can see the kind of need to not only focus on the project partner countries. So it's worthwhile to have an extra dialogue and a meeting about what kind of opportunities do we have. In our particular case, because we're in a European umbrella, we've sent trainers from different countries to the Portugal meeting. So we also have people living in Hungary, one in Austria, Italy, Sweden. In the end, we want to have a bit more geographical spread, especially in the developing countries, to build more capacity. But it is a bit of a question of like limited in time and resources to do this like really quickly, but it's definitely a good thing to yeah, to have another meeting about what could be realistically done in the midterm kind of midterm period. I think it will be good to get back to you after this this webinar and explore the kind of opportunities that there might be for such a program. In this case, it's Croatia, right?
Yes, it's in Croatia.
Rupert, with all the great resources being developed, is there any plans to share and repurpose some of the training content, YouTube videos, explainers with the wider mountain bike riding community to show how much expertise and professionalism goes into trail planning, design and maintenance, and why riders need to support trails? It's a good point. Yeah, I think that we can think of something, especially when more of the resources are finalized, that we can go out and promote and disseminate them, and that by doing that also stress the importance of how much expertise and professionalism is needed in the sector. In other projects, we try to push that message as well. At Zimba, we are also part of another Erasmus project called Sustainability and Environmental Education in Outdoor Sports, which is more about delivering training courses, guiding courses, but we will have an opportunity to focus also on the trail infrastructure a little bit more. So that gives us an opportunity to have this discussion with other outdoor sports enthusiasts, with land managers and conservation organizations. But it's definitely, yeah, it's a really good idea. We don't have something, I would almost say shuffle ready, but ready to launch. But it's a good advice we will definitely take into consideration. Janus, you've got a question, I think, so please go ahead.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you, okay.
So, very interesting to see the development of the DIRTT project, but I am sorry that I didn't have the chance to be involved from the beginning. So the question is, is there any chance I can, or we can, as trail builders here in Greece, get involved in any kind of input regarding the studies or any other information that, you know, the project requires at the moment until it finishes?
And are you thinking about some specifics, like in training content, or what kind of role do you...
Watching your presentation, I had you know, thought about you know, this is an European, let's say, project, but as you mentioned earlier, for example, in Norway, the trail building season, it's much more shorter than in the south or in the Mediterranean, and in the same way, the dirt, the ground, you know, the scenery, everything is different and from country to country. So some people have developed special techniques regarding their, you know, the place they're coming from.
Yeah.
And maybe it would be a good idea to include techniques. For example, I know in Norway, they do a lot of rock work. They know how to do rock armoring very well. And I've been, you know, taught techniques from them. So, you know, in a general trail building school or training, you might not get specialized techniques regarding each type of, you know, terrain you meet as a trail builder. So
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, we here know a lot of to deal with the pine tree forests, for example, which is something special for the Mediterranean area, and you don't find this type of terrain and conditions in the Alpine mountains. So yeah, I mean, there might be things that we can share, the people that do that professionally, and include on the training of potential trail builders, or even train people how to maintain, you know, riders and the mountain bike community or volunteers.
You have a perfectly good point, Janis. It's also something that we've seen discussed in the project consortium as well. That's also a little bit why we said we're going to focus on the main principles, and then you can utilize the kind of training toolbox, and then add the real specifics for your country, your terrain, or whatsoever in any kind of training, because it will be hard to cover everything, of course, across Europe. But you know, it's not a kind of fixed way of delivering a course. We do like to see that people are kind of, you know, using some basic building blocks of a training program. But we also need to acknowledge that there's space to integrate more national, regional, maybe even local knowledge, whether it's about soils or specific techniques that you can use in those kind of countries. In a certain way, what we also have been working with or testing with is this kind of what we call a trail case studies, which is a sort of observation and evaluation of an existing project, where we ask the same question to every trail builder or who has been responsible for developing the trail. What are the specifics? What are the kind of issues that you've been running into? What kind of solutions have you been, you know, have you developed to solve the problem? And I think that will also give the really good insights and the differences that we've seen across Europe in the different types of landscapes, soils, etc. And the idea of having an online sort of library is also that it's going to be easier to disseminate this kind of local knowledge with other groups. So yeah, that's definitely something that that would fit this whole expert group or this whole project. We just have to put a timeline on it, and I think that for us right now, the focus is to deliver what we need to deliver, and we are a bit delayed. So there's a bit of stress, there's a bit of pressure on our shoulders to do this well, and then continue to look at other countries and other situations as well. But the offer is really kind, and well, we know each other already, so the link is really short, and yeah, we will definitely make sure that the group that is interested in more sharing of information and expertise in this field comes more often together. So yeah, we want to create that kind of platform, and I think this kind of suggestions and ideas really fit well in for this kind of network.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep. Let's see. So we started 5 minutes late. We've got 1 minute left if we want to fill the full hour. So if there's anyone last question, raise your hand or open your mic. And otherwise, we're gonna close this one, this webinar, and we're gonna send the presentation to all of you later on. Then we also got your email, so we can contact you more frequently on what's happening within the DIRTT project. And don't hesitate to drop an email to us if your question was not answered today. Then we'll get back to it. Or if we don't have the answers ourselves, we're going to ask someone else in the project consortium to help us out. Let's see. Anyone raising their hands? If not, let's see. Nothing in the chat anymore. Perfect. And I think we covered most of it, and otherwise we're going to get back to you. Then I simply want to thank you for joining today. We yeah, we're definitely going to plan more updates. As said, there are going to be a couple of busy months upcoming. We hope to see some of you maybe in this at our summit in Val di Sole. Finally, after 2 years of COVID editions, online editions, we have a physical and in-person mountain bike summit again, and it's also our 10th anniversary. So we plan we plan a little party in the Dolomites. Registration will, I think, open next week or something. Thank you all for your attendance, and hope to see you later on again in the project.
Bye-bye.